Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Turin here with another Warhammer Total War Live Battlecast. In this particular game, we are going to play the Warriors of Chaos, and we're going to be facing off against the Wood Elves. So definitely should be a good time for all. We're going to go ahead and get Lore of Fire, and we're going to play a little bit of a different build, actually. We're not going to get any aerial units. We're just going to play a ground force led by Prince Sigvald. So I'm hoping that his regeneration is decent, offensive stats and duelist capabilities can pull me through the trenches. Definitely don't want him fighting Durthu, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to get him. We're going to get Lore of Fire. I'm going to get the Flaming Sword of Ruin for the fire damage, which is pretty good. Also on top of that, I am going to get the Piercing Bolts of Burning. These actually aren't bad. And if you get like a nice overcasted version on like a group of, archers or something like that, it can do some decent damage. So we're also going to get some Forsaken here. These guys are just so good in this matchup. I'm tempted to even get like 4 of them, but we're also going to get some Aspiring Champs. These guys are pretty solid, armored, shielded. They do have silver shields. They can take arrows like champs, and they do pretty well in the front line against the low armor of the Wood Elves infantry. So on top of that, we're going to need kind of like a shielded front line. So we're going to get some Chaos Warriors here. These guys are pretty solid. Right now, the one thing I'm kind of lacking is something to deal with, heavily armored treekin type units, Durthu, etc., etc. So we got to get to the bottom of that. So let's go ahead and just bring some trolls. Let's just go deep. These guys, they hit pretty darn hard if you can, get them on the appropriate target. And we probably want to get some like Chaos Warhounds also. That could be okay to chase those, pesky skirmishers down, all that kind of stuff. And do I want to cut one of these groups of Chaos Warriors? I feel like 3 is a good number, and 4 Forsaken might be a little bit risky, but we'll go ahead and chevron them up because they're definitely going to be my pulling weight this game. And ideally, though, I could use another group of trolls. I feel like that would have been pretty good, but you know what? The game's already on. We're just going to get started here. And one thing I am a little stressed about is I really love having Mancores in the Chaos matchup. It just gives you that kind of sense of comfort that you can deal with, pertinent threats, but again, we'll see how it goes. The Forsaken, if I'm able to circumvent his flanks, and if he has like a very heavy missile-centric army, I should be okay. And hey, if he just spams Eternal Guards and goes that direction, I'm hoping that they'll be able to cut through the Eternal Guards and outmaneuver them and all that kind of stuff as well. Problem is, Forsaken are going to take massive missile fire before the start of the battle, so that's also a huge liability. And the Trolls, too, are very subject to focus fire. So I'm really hoping those Chaos Warriors in the front line will do their job. And Sigvald, definitely not the best of the Chaos leaders, but he's a lot of fun to use. And he usually lasts the battle. I mean, he's shielded, has 100 armor, and that regeneration is, it's no joke. So we're going to go ahead here, set these guys up. We're going to go with a relatively wide formation, which should be okay. We're going to put the Aspiring Champs in the secondary line, and then we're going to put these guys out in the wings here. So I'm going to be using these guys to kind of circle around and pressure as needed. You don't want to just jam them right up the middle, usually, in my opinion. We're going to put the Trolls here. So when the trees kind of get in the front line, because trees usually aren't going to be, maneuvering out and around, you want the Trolls in the center so they can just charge up right up the pipe and support these guys. So see how this goes. Prince Sigvald can be right with the boys right there. We'll see how he does. I'm actually interested. I don't think I played with Sigvald in months. And looks like, did I mount this guy? Okay, good. I put him on a mount. So we do have Flaming Sword of Ruin, which is pretty good. Cascading Fire Cloak, in my opinion, is not worth bringing in anymore. So that's just my 2 cents. But the fact that it doesn't have that AoE spread is a little bit of a bummer. So just looking at his initial army count with 756, it leads me to believe that it's a very elf-centric army, and he's going to have, pretty big elf army over there. No, not so many trees, because the tree armies are usually between like 500 and 650 from my experience. It's also a useful skill if you guys find yourselves laddering a lot. Just kind of get used to different army sizes and, take note of how many troops they have. And then when you see their army, you can kind of keep tabs of that. And as you play that matchup more often, you're going to be able to kind of guess what your opponent's army has preemptively, which can be helpful in terms of deployment and other things like that. So we got the Aspiring Champs, Chaos Warriors, we got some Trolls, we got Sigvald, so definitely a little bit of an unorthodox army. And again, I personally I am of the opinion that the Manticore armies are optimal, but it looks like my opponent actually went like with a heavy Air Force, so part of me is glad I'm not playing that game right now. So we're just going to advance. One thing he's probably going to try and do is clip my wings. So what I have to do is just keep my hounds really close, high and tight, and then, when he dives, I have to get the hounds and the Forsaken and try and like lock him down and swarm him. So looks like he's going to use the arrows there. Does a little bit of damage. That's actually pretty negligible. I found that if you get the arrows and you kind of circle out to the wings and shoot them like down the formation, it does substantially more damage. So he has a Forest Dragon, he has some Hawk Riders, which I'm not a big fan of. The one thing that's kind of making me a little nervous is, I can't find his troops anywhere. So I have a feeling he might be like deployed back in the forest and he's just going to try and harass me. But thankfully his troops are right here. So he's got some Glade Guards, he's got some Eternal Guards. So we should be able to deal with that. That's a pretty big army, and he does have a lot invested in the air. So we just have to make sure to kind of get these guys around. And it looks like he's shooting at the Aspiring Champs right now with those Hawk Riders, which I'm totally fine with. And there you go. He switches onto the Trolls, which is pretty good for him. But thankfully the Trolls do regenerate, guys. So, they're going to be able to heal through kind of, minor damage like that. But unfortunately, this guy does not regenerate. So I need to be careful with him. But we're advancing. We should be able to get in range pretty quickly here. So feeling pretty good so far. Got the Hounds lurking nearby, just waiting for dives and things like that. Again, I could probably get them on the Forest Dragon to mitigate its high stats. and then just go from there. So I might want to honestly just like overcast this, but yeah, he's focusing. He's probably going to be able to kill my sorcerer pretty easily here. So we want to just get our forces kind of moving. He's obviously going to pull those archers back, so I'm going to send these guys to target the secondary line. The aspiring champs we can send in the kind of the same similar fashion here. Get those guys going here, and these guys can start going out there, and these guys can start going out here, and that's so far so good, guys. Looks like he is going to use some sort of a net on me. Pretty minimal effect though, to say the least. He is targeting my hounds, which is okay. I don't mind that. You know, that's all missile fire. You know, it's essentially resources he's expending, so we're okay with that. And I feel like our infantry corps is going to be really, really superior to his. So the trolls, we got to get these guys going. We just want to get them up in the front. Probably use them. Yeah, it'd be pretty nice to use those on the wild riders, to be honest. Right here, I want to use this piercing bolts, but I really want to wait until like things are a little more bunched up. So these guys are going here. I might just use like one group of Forsaken to like smash into these guys, but it looks like he's falling back. So I don't mind chasing. You know, that's totally fine. Let's see how these trolls are doing. We got to get these guys moving again. We got to get these Forsaken going, and the Forsaken are faster than his infantry. So let's do that. Pull that guy here, and these Forsaken we can just collapse on this flank here. And then we don't want the hounds in there. We want the hounds back. These Forsaken can go around the back. Come on, Sigvald, you can catch him, boys. Look at those trolls actually get into there. So I forgot that the trolls are faster. So Prince Sigvald, I don't mind getting him in there. Pull these trolls back a little bit because you don't want them in the front line. And we're going to use the Flaming Sword of Rune because he's probably going to pick off my sorcerer here. I understand and accept that. So we get the Flaming Sword of Rune off. We're also going to use an overcasted bolt right there. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to collapse these guys on the flank here, and we're going to just get these guys around. Let's get the hounds around the back there as well. Prince Sigvald's in the front line. He's doing a pretty good job. So we want to use that encouragement to keep those trolls fighting. Get a nice little bombardment there. It's not the best, but still, you know, it's able to kind of put a little pressure on those archers there, and we're going to just pull these guys right here into this flank. And unfortunately, my Forsaken here got caught up by those wild riders. So what we want to do is see if we can reinforce with those Forsaken here. So we're going to get into these archers. It's going to be pretty good. You know, again, he's doing pretty well defending his lines, but I think in the front line he's having a bit of trouble. So these trolls actually routed off, so you need to be pretty on top of that. And these hounds got in there. They did some okay damage. The Forsaken will get a nice little charge. And over here, I was able to get a pretty good envelopment on those troops. So we should, as soon as those wild riders break, we'll go ahead and just keep pushing through. So you can see his lines are collapsing. And the Chaos Infantry, if you let them sit in the front line like that, they're going to dumpster you, man. They're just so strong. I mean, Chaos Infantry is pretty hard to match. And I don't think he did enough damage with his harass in the beginning. So we're starting to collapse his forces. And one of the worst things you can be is, you know, facing off against Chaos and then having Forsaken chasing you down. That's a very tough situation. So he uses the little Vortex ability there, which is pretty cool. You don't see it often, but it actually isn't bad as Vortex abilities go. So we got to make sure to keep pressuring here, and let's pull these hounds back and have them get on this dragon. Get that poison going. We're going to get these guys here. Just keep pressuring. We got to keep everything moving forward. And you can see Prince Sigvald's actually, he's pimping it, guys. He's in good shape here. So we're happy about all this. All our forces are kind of pushing through. And again, guys, I think Forsaken are the MVPs in this matchup. They're just so darn good. So let's actually get these guys going here. We'll get Prince Sigvald going. Do we have any trolls we can pull? And it looks like we do have some trolls on the dragon already. So we're continuing to push through. He might be able to kite me out a little bit, but honestly, with these Forsaken and Hot Pursuit and, you know, all these other infantry, I don't see that being the case. We do have pretty good pressure coming. Let's detach a group there to deal with that. Sigvald's doing pretty good with these dragons here. I might have pushed far ahead with too many of my troops. I might have wanted to leave some back, but Sigvald's a pretty good duelist. What does he have? Some Hawk Riders. So the Hawk Riders, I'm not a fan. I personally think the Hawk Riders aren't that great. We are able to kill this Blade Lord, I mean the dragon, or at least pressure it. And Sigvald's a good duelist. I mean, if anyone can stand that heat, you know, he definitely will be able to. So back here, we've been able to do some, you know, some serious damage. So we're going to pull these Aspiring Champs back, get them over here in case he tries to do something with those Hawk Riders. Just continue to pressure, and I feel like everything's going to code, relatively speaking. And you know, the Chaos Army is pretty durable, and those Forsaken coming around the flanks, if you're playing against Chaos, you know, you really need to account for that and be ready. So we were able to break these guys, so what we want to do now is just pull, you know, the troops back, and we can just leave the trolls on those, to be honest, and just crumble the main force of his army. I mean, he has some troops en route back here, but honestly, I think these trolls should be able to just clean up this Spellslinger back here, since it is broken, you know, already, essentially. So we're able to rout off his Lord. It looks like he is landing the Hawk Riders, some dragons, so thankfully we do have some troops coming back here. You can see they're going to come back. This is definitely the epicenter of the battle, but Sigvald, he's sturdy. I mean, that regeneration is no joke. So we're doing pretty good. I have a feeling that those Forsaken probably racked up a lot of kills. And what was that back here? It was my hounds. I was like, oh, what's that far back on the map? Let's go ahead and check for routing units. This is something I should have done, and I usually do quite a bit earlier, but we'll get those Forsaken to help out over there. Sigvald and the boys are doing pretty good. This dragon's, you know, taking the Sigvald punishment here, doing his thing. He does have his Blade Lord back in the air, which is pretty good. I mean, it's going to start shooting and pressuring against. We got to make sure things are fighting. Sometimes, guys, if you're like fighting and they're able to take off, a lot of your troops, their attack orders will essentially just end. So you need to make sure that you're on top of all that. So trolls back here, we're able to get a little bit of damage in, but they might break here, but that's okay. They're fine. They've done their piece. So we're just going to pull these in. We just need to finish off this Blade Lord to get the, you know, everything to break. and that should be all she wrote. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that game. It's a build I actually like, and I've been playing around with Sigvald a little bit, you know, in some custom matches and just testing his durability, and it's actually not bad, because a lot of times when you play against the Wood Elves, like if I had brought Kolek or someone like that, and he was putting, you know, massive pressure on me, for example, you know, he's not going to regenerate that, but Sigvald, he can take it like a champ and regenerate with that Auric armor. You guys saw the Forsaken are just so good here. Chaos Warriors, they crushed his front line. I mean, they can, even though his front line has armor piercing, the Chaos Warriors are just so tough. And the Trolls, surprisingly, didn't do bad. I mean, they're fast. They can press those fast units. They hit pretty hard against the heroic units like the Dragon. So really not terrible in my opinion. But anyways, good game to my opponent, Yukitsu Kam, and I'm not even going to try and say the rest of whatever that is. I look forward to seeing you again on ladder, and I hope you guys enjoyed this Chaos Cast. Have an excellent night, and take care.